first, let's define environmental strategies. And if anybody wants to read that out loud, feel free to read it for us.
Please do. Someone. We want to get y'all to participate. Anyone, feel free to unmute your mic.
I can read it. Okay, environmental strategies define strategies that seek to establish or change community standards, codes, and attitudes, thereby influencing the incidence, and prevalence of substance abuse in the general population.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Clarence, for reading that.
Nice.
As Clarence read that, what pops out is why environmental strategies may be important and should be considered by us when we're thinking about prevention. What kind of stands out?
Feel free to unmute your mic or text, chat rather. What words in that definition really stood out? What he was saying stood out to you? I mean, I just want to hear it because I think, to me, I like the idea of seeking to establish or change. That's an example for me, that a word that sticks out. Because if we're going to do anything in our communities, I always want to establish or change.
That's it.
But there may be some other words that got your attention. Anyone?
And Sheila and Cynthia and Chantel, feel free if you want to turn those cameras on for us, because we
want to see y'all.
We appreciate
again. We want to see y'all again.
Yes.
Yesterday.
What you think? Anyone? Influencing, there we go. Strategies, hey, thank you.
Yes,
I appreciate that. Y'all doing it.
Thank you.
The influence strategies, we have to change and also lead by example to the ones we are providing services to. That's what I think. Oh, I like that, Sheila.
I like that.
That is excellent.
Lead by example. Love it. Thanks.
That's right.
Thanks, Sister Sheila.
So that was incredibly awesome. So I want to thank you again for doing that. As we now look at that, we're going to talk about this environmental strategies. Here are some of the factors that the environmental strategies will focus on. And they are the following: accessibility of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, rules and regulations of social institutions to which they belong, the norms of the community in which they live. I want us to pay particular attention to the norms of the community in which they live. And then the mass media messages to which they are exposed. So this is our agenda for the day, is to go over these 4 points and then to have discussions to where you understand, and then also how you can visualize and actually see it implemented in your community with an understanding of why it's important. Okay. Oh, okay. Thanks, Cynthia. Appreciate that. So why is that? Why is mass media important messaging? Why are norms, getting to the norms, so important? And so here are the types of environmental strategies, and thus where we got the acronym from. All right. So we got policy, where you get the P in camp from. We're going to talk about policy, why that's so important. We're going to talk about enforcement and education. Both of those E's they're vital to the overall influence of those who are having issues with substance use, as well as the prevention of those, so that they'll be less tempted, and have less opportunities to get access to those things. communication and collaboration represents our C's, right? So we've got communication, collaboration. Those two things are utterly important for the transformation of the norms that we have been beholden to in our societies, and in advocacy, right? How to have that influence over our political leaders as they are responsible for the legislature, the laws that govern how people live, as well as what they can and can't do. That's some power. And so we want to talk about that advocacy piece, because we need to be having next we got media. We cannot say enough about media.
That's right.
Media has a tremendous influence. And so we want to use the very strategies that experts in media use for us commercials. We want to use those same tactics and techniques for prevention efforts. So with that, we're thinking media literacy, media advocacy, social marketing, and social media campaign. So what's on your billboards, your social media posts? What's in the view of those individuals that are in your area, right? Want to make sure that it's public, it's visible, and then you want to be able to have a media literacy so that people are understanding what you're trying to convey succinctly. Like in media, you don't have a lot of time, right? Because time is money in media. We're about to hit the big Super Bowl where people are paying the most expensive time and space for advertisement is during the big Super Bowl event. So what we want to do is we want to use some takeaways. If something has to be within 30 seconds, you want that to be the most influential 30 seconds, but in a way in which you're getting the audience gets it and understands it. I often look at billboards now as I'm passing down the street or on the highway. And if I can't understand it within my, 7 to 5 seconds of getting in viewing range of what that billboard is saying, guess what? It's totally missing the point. So we want to be able to do that. So that requires training, y'all. So sometimes you got to get media literate to really understand how to convey it in a succinct amount of time. And then another great thing is deconstruction of media messages to help, especially young people, see how techniques are being used in order to influence them to either purchase or to desire to use some type of substances. Media advocacy is a way in which you're using the media to talk about policy initiatives that are coming up and where you want to spread the news about what this policy will do and why it's important for people to either vote for it or to buy into it and to understand what it means as far as the regulations that are now impacting the community so that it becomes a norm. So you want to use specific tools for advocating, and that's a whole nother training. But I encourage you that if you've ever had or hear about a media advocacy training, to jump in and buy in. Another thing is social marketing. Social marketing is not just social media. You can use social media as a medium, but social marketing is broader than that. It's using and applying the marketing techniques of advertising agencies in order to, instead of getting people to buy a product, to buy into a type of behavior. And that behavior that we're trying to get people to buy into is a prevention behavior, to buy into a wellness choice versus a choice that goes against their behavioral health wellness. Okay, so it's consumer driven and it focuses the 4 P's that you all may be familiar with as product, price, promotion, and place. And so here's some examples of some ads that use the product, price, promotion, and place, and that we're trying to get people to not use. Things like, how many of y'all remember Above the Influence? That was one of the ads that did that. Effective media messages are based on fact. We don't use scare tactics. If you use scare tactics and people find out that you're exaggerating the truth, they're less likely to believe anything else that comes out. So we want to use facts. We want to appeal to logic without trying to force it on people. And then hopefully that logic that they grasp mentally, if they have a change in attitude or an increase of knowledge, that is what all they need in order to, through the Prochaska's stages of change, that's all they need to work towards the desired behavior change. All you got to do is get them where it's an increase of knowledge or an increase of skill or a change of attitude. So why don't we now, let's go to community norms. Norms, things that are normal. If something's normal, does it stand out or does it not stand out? What do you think? If it's a norm, does it stand out?
It does not stand out to me if it's a norm. That's
right, Sheila. It does not. So what's not the norm in this picture right here?
That goldish suit, the color. The rest of them seems the same color, but that one is the different one.
That's right.
It's kind of out of line, ain't it, Sister Sheila?
Yeah.
Like that. It don't fit the norm, right?
No, it doesn't.
And it immediately is seen as, this is big, y'all, offensive. When we get to norm level, that suit is offensive. Right?
See, ain't nothing illegal about it. Ain't nothing they did anything illegal about it. It's just the norm. Just, how dare they? We know we wear black around here.
Right. It's so there it stands out because it's different than what they might wear. It's different. It's just different.
There you go. There
you go. Out.
That's right. When it gets to the norm level, that's when it's taken root so much that it's now a part of the culture. So let's get to some culture power, right?
Yeah.
Once it's at the cultural level, that's when whatever it is, if it's a positive thing, that's when you don't even have to promote it no more, y'all.
Yeah.
It's running on autopilot.
Yeah.
Right? So prevention of, in our previous examples, prevention of death by accident in a car by wearing a seatbelt is at the cultural level, so much so that as babies are going through preschool and early education, as they're taught about seatbelts, those very babies can check their parents or grandparents because, hey, put your seatbelt on. You didn't put your seatbelt on, right? Out of mouth of babes. And what's the parent gonna do? Oh, all right, whatever it is. Right? They put it on. It's now at the cultural level, and it stands out when you're not acting in compliance. So culture influences how people think, feel, act. It's a key determinant for members. It focuses on commitment, motivation, and as well productivity. So what are some norms, right? So group norms are those things that are informal rules that groups adopt and regulate the members' behavior. So I want somebody put in the chat if you can think of a cultural or group norm it's informal and it's just something that applies to your group that everybody kind of knows to do, even though it's not written anywhere or mandated.
You said for a particular group. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, for any group, and it doesn't have to be like just related to our race or ethnicity. Any group you belong to, that everybody knows that it's a norm for that group, and because it's such a norm, you don't pay attention to it unless it's violated. What do you think that is? And I'm gonna give you an example. So I'm a movie goer. Nothing I enjoy more than going to a theater, sitting in a movie. And when somebody takes that phone out during movie time, I get on fire. Because that light is distracting me and they should know better, right? I want to go in force. That's a norm. don't be, you know, and sure enough, don't be calling on the phone, talking to somebody while we supposed to be listening to this movie, because now you have completely made me upset, right?
It's not a law. It's just a norm.
It's a norm, Tracy. I wish it was a law. Hey, Tracy put, I love it, opening Christmas presents.
That's a family norm. That's a family norm for some people. Only opening on Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. That's a family norm. It ain't a rule. It ain't a law.
Right.
You know. And so
I got one.
What you got?
Getting on the elevator and then facing the doors. It's norm to face the doors, but if you get on there staring at everybody else,
You in trouble, right, Clarence?
yeah, they gonna take something off with you.